the utes are packed and we're off on a 4,000 kilometre trip into some of the most remotest places that this country has to offer. We'll leave Wodonga in northeast Victoria and head north. Our destination, Birdsville Outback Queensland. So we finally hit the dirt heading north on the Cobb Highway to Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe's a little town in the middle of New South Wales, a population of about 190 people. So we've logged there on a Friday evening, and one of the utes we discovered had lost a bolt from one of its vitals. So trying to find a mechanic at 5 o'clock on a Friday in Ivanhoe was almost impossible. But one of the local Steves saved the day. He brought out his big red jack, used it to lift the car up, so OH&S went out the window, fair bit of Loctite went on the offending bolt, and we were back on the road again in a few hours. So we said goodbye to Ivanhoe and headed towards the opal mining town of White Cliffs. Population 150, home of the very first solar power station built in Australia back in 1981. With temperatures exceeding 48 degrees in the summertime, most of the 150 residents live underground at this quaint little place. From opals to gold, we've hit Milparinka. Back in the 1870s, gold was discovered here, and at its peak, 3,000 people lived in the little place of Milparinka, and it boasted its own newspaper, police station, a chemist, 2 butcher shops, a courthouse, a school, hospital, and 4 pubs. Back on the road again sees us heading towards the, once again, tiny little township of Tibooburra, boasting 130 population. So Tibooburra is an Aboriginal word for heap of boulders. So we set up camp, went and had a couple of cold beers, and we were actually sharing the campsite with a whole heap of tractor enthusiasts that were heading south. The road's open to Cameron's Corner, so we're off again. But before we get to Cameron's Corner, we found a huge clay pan that we thought we'd have a little bit of fun on. So it was Cameron's Corner for lunch. So Cameron's Corner is on the border of Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia. So it boasts a 9-hole golf course, 3 holes in each state. It also has 3 New Year's Eves because of the 3 different time zones. The corner store, as it's affectionately known, boasts a Queensland liquor licence, a New South Wales postcode and a South Australian phone number. With the road open to Inaminka, we were finally reaching our next night's camp. Inaminka is a great little spot to stay over. It has a pub, a trading post, a few scattered houses, a population of about 40, but is a really terrific camp spot on the Cooper Creek. So this is the area where Burke and Wills passed through on their journey from Melbourne to the Gulf of Carpentaria, where they established their 65th camp since leaving Melbourne at a place called the Dig Tree on at Napameri Station. It was here where Burke and Wills met their demise after returning from the Gulf of Carpentaria, both of them perishing in this harsh country. So after a big day on the road, we washed the dust out of our throats and headed out to the Culliyamurra waterhole and found a camp spot, bit of tucker and watched the sun go down. The Inaminka area is steeped in Burke and Wills history, so the next day we went and visited the sites that tell the story of this ill-fated expedition. We went out to the Dig Tree where they'd established Camp 65 and returned from the Gulf and Carpentaria only to find that the men that they'd left there had only just left the morning before, and subsequently not long after that Burke and Wills perished. While at the Dig Tree, we were given a bit of a show by an aero club that had flown in and landed on the dirt strip on Napameri Station. So after a big day exploring, and it actually happened to be Father's Day, what better way to spend the evening with a campfire roast and a few cold beers around the fire and once again watching magnificent sunsets. Leaving Inaminka and heading towards Birdsville, we've done a slight detour and headed into the Cordillo Downs station to have a look at their magnificent old heritage listed shearing shed. This shed once used to boast 120 stands and hold the record for shearing 85,000 sheep in one season. A little word of advice: if we are walking around this country, please put something on your feet, as the Bindis are absolutely ferocious. Another little stop along the way is the ruins of the Cordillo Station, which was an outstation for Cordillo Downs. It's just a stark reminder of how harsh this country is. massive day on the road, we've finally made it to Birdsville just on sunset. So camp was set up very quickly, a bit of tucker in our bellies and to the pub before it closes. Thanks for watching part 1 of Birdsville or Bust. Part 2 will be coming up very shortly. Until then, how about whacking down on that subscribe button, hit that little bell notification, give me a thumbs up, put in the comments what you'd like to see, because I want this channel to be run by you guys as subscribers. So until then, cheers. Right all.